I recently made the switch to Anchor podcasting for my podcast hosting. And if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free, first and foremost. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer, which makes it super easy. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Really cool point. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's literally everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app now or go to anchor.fm to get started.
You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he dropped the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Welcome into Simply the Best Sports Podcast. I am your host, Sean Bingham, and it is Friday. It is the day after my Redskins got stomped on national television. It is the day after I predicted they would win. It is the day after I said that they would make the playoffs if they could win out, and they got trounced in their first attempt to do so. I am in my car today, but don't worry, I am fully prepared. Have a great show. I'm excited for it. And yeah, right off the bat, the Redskins stunk it up last night. To start the game, Jamison Crowder has a ball bounce off his hands at the 5-yard line, meaning in the red zone, about to score, bounces off of his hands and turns into an interception. And then he fumbles a punt like 4 plays later after the defense, causes a 3-and-out, forces a 3-and-out. He fumbles a punt. Then Dallas scored. And it just seemed like it was just downhill from there. The Redskins couldn't recover. Kirk Cousins had a fumble, I believe, on the next possession. And they just couldn't really get things going. And they lost. They lost big. Alfred Morris, former Redskin, great. As you all know, he was with the Redskins for 4 years. His rookie season was RG3's rookie season. Skins won the division. Alfred Morris rushed for over 1,000 yards. I think he rushed for over 1,000 yards 3 different times in his 4 years with Washington. The guy is good. He hasn't been getting much credit down there in Dallas. And he really stuck it to us. So I was wrong about my Washington Redskins. I really hope we can keep Kirk Cousins. I really, really hope we can keep Kirk Cousins. I went through yesterday how he's a top 7 quarterback in the league, and I stand by that firmly. In fact, some of the things I wanted to talk about today were just that, like how good really is Kirk Cousins. And I also want to talk about another quarterback in the NFC East, really all of them. You've got Dak Prescott. He didn't really play well last night. It was the run game that won that game. It was the defense as well. And it was really some miscues by Washington. But Dak Prescott didn't really have that good of a game. Des Bryant finally caught a touchdown pass again, which, by the way, he's the all-time leader in receiving touchdowns in Dallas Cowboy history, which was really, really surprising to me. I knew he had some really big seasons, but I didn't know it was that big. But Eli Manning's the other guy. So Eli is getting benched, right? We all know this. It's been talked about for days. Pretty big deal, though. Snaps the second longest streak in NFL history as far as starts go for a quarterback. And it made me start to wonder, is Eli Manning a Hall of Famer at this point in his career? Like what entails getting into the Hall of Fame? The guy has 2 Super Bowls. He has that really long streak of starts, and he's the only guy to beat Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, and he did it twice. And Tom Brady's largely considered the GOAT. He certainly is in my mind. And then beyond that, I started looking up, okay, where does Eli stand in all-time rankings? And I think you're going to be a little surprised. In career passes completed, Eli Manning is number 6 all-time. Number 6. Let's go through a couple more. In passing yards, Eli Manning, in passing yards for a career, is number 7 all-time. So he's number 6 all-time in pass completions, number 7 all-time in passing yards, And in passing touchdowns, Eli Manning of the New York Giants is number 7 as well. So he's in the top 7 in completions, yards, and touchdowns. And he has 2 Super Bowl rings, both of them over the GOAT. One of them over the greatest team in the history of the NFL, the New England Patriots in 2007, who were 18-0, including the 2 playoff games they had played, entering the Super Bowl, and he beats them. Now it was a David Tyree miracle helmet catch, but Eli had the phenomenal scramble job, broke free. That play is one of the all-time great plays in Super Bowl history. He's scrambling. It looks like he's doomed for sure to be sacked. Breaks free and tosses up what seemed like maybe a prayer, but there was an open David Tyree. It was slightly overthrown. A little bit of a jump ball. Tyree jumps up, snags it, and traps it against kind of the top back of his helmet. And the ball never touches the ground. And that was on 4th down. So it was a huge play. It ended up winning the Super Bowl, really. It set up, what won the Super Bowl for the Giants that year against the Patriots. But in the end, when all is said and done, Eli Manning got 2 Super Bowls before his brother Peyton did. And he was a bigger factor on the 2 Super Bowls than his brother Peyton was. Peyton's 2nd Super Bowl, let's be real, he was more of a liability than an asset. He was certainly more of a liability than an asset. But obviously he's Peyton Manning, he's extremely smart. And so I ask you, does Eli belong in the Hall of Fame? If he were to retire right now, does he belong in the Hall of Fame? We know he's been inconsistent, but his all-time numbers, again, he's number 7 in passing touchdowns, number 7 in yards passing, number 6 in pass completions. Those are really big stats, and he's top 7 all time. The other guys up on those lists, by the way, just to give you an idea of who else is right there with him, I'll say all the guys above it. We'll just read the top 10. In passing touchdowns, Peyton Manning, number 1. Brett Favre, number 2. Hall of Famer. Tom Brady, number 3, Hall of Famer. Drew Brees, number 4, Hall of Famer. Dan Marino, Fran Tarkenton, Hall of Famer. Eli Manning is number 7. Interestingly, this is passing touchdowns. He's tied with Phillip Rivers right now. They're both obviously still playing. Phillip Rivers will probably pass him on Sunday, so that would drop Eli to 8th all time. But they entered the league at the exact same time, Eli and Phillip. And I don't think Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer, but guess what? He doesn't stack up in the other categories, and he hasn't won 2 Super Bowls. Okay, number 9, Ben Roethlisberger. Number 10, Aaron Rodgers. Number 11, John Elway. And we'll stop there. So you look at that list. I just read off the top 11 names. And the only 2 that I think, well, there's really 3 that are fringe Hall of Fame guys. Roethlisberger probably being the closest to being actually in the Hall of Fame. I think Eli gets in, though. If you look at the guys he's with... Now, one thing to keep in mind is this is a very pass-happy league. It's a very passer-friendly league. The rules have changed dramatically on what the defense can do, the hits they can make. The protection for quarterbacks is stronger. The protection for receivers is stronger. Everything with the rules changes has favored the offense, and it's particularly favored the passing game. And so a lot of these passing stats are going to be inflated as time goes on. And you can see there in the top 10, there are 5 active players. The top 2, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre. Then you've got Tom Brady, Drew Brees, and then 2 more non-active guys in Dan Marino and Fran Tarkenton. So it really makes you respect what Fran Tarkenton did. Holy cow, that guy retired in 78, and he's number 5 all-time in touchdown passes. That is pretty cool. Okay, so going on to the other list. So again, passing yards. Eli is number 7, I believe, on this one. He was number 6 in completions, number 7 in passing yards. Guys above him, a lot of the same names. Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Dan Marino, John Elway, Eli Manning. Ben Roethlisberger right behind him. Roethlisberger If Eli sits the rest of the season, Roethlisberger will pass him there. So Eli will end up being 8th in both yards and touchdowns by the end of this season, just because he's going to get passed by guys that are just right behind him. But you stack him up. Number 9, Warren Moon. Number 10, Phillip Rivers. Number 11, Fran Tarkenton. These are the guys that lead for careers in yards passing. All of them are Hall of Famers. All of them. Brett Favre won a Super Bowl. Peyton Manning won 2. Drew Brees got 1. Tom Brady's sitting at 5. Dan Marino did not. John Elway got 2. Eli's got 2. Big Ben's got 2. Warren Moon didn't get any. Phillip Rivers doesn't have any. So, man, as you look at this, it just feels like, why would he not be in the Hall of Fame? Let's go to the last one, passes completed. Again, same names. Don't even need to read them. It's the same names. So does Eli Manning belong in the Hall of Fame? His all-time stats are all-time great, and he's got 2 Super Bowl rings, both of them over Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, one of which was very similar to LeBron beating those 73-9 Warriors after being down 3-1 in the finals a couple years ago. It's a huge, huge positive on your resume. I won't get into the fact that if Draymond Green hadn't gotten suspended for Game 5, that series probably would have been over in 5 in Golden State. But that's neither here nor there. The Cavs got it done. And you know what? Draymond deserved to be. He was a nut puncher. You know, he deserved to be suspended anyway, so it was the right thing. But anyway, Eli got it done. I think Eli Manning belongs in the Hall of Fame. I do. I even though he's been sporadic, he's been a little bit inconsistent. The Giants have been up and down. I believe that he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Now, interesting thing I want to talk about here. As I was looking up these stats for Eli Manning, I started looking into other things, of course, like passer rating, completion percentage. Eli didn't score super high on those. I knew he wouldn't. But passer rating, guess who's number 8 all time for career? Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, for his career, is number 8 all time. The 8th highest passer rating in NFL history is Kirk Cousins. Okay? Think about that. The 8th highest passer rating for a career is Kirk Cousins. The Washington Redskins are debating paying this guy. Are you kidding me? Pay the man. Oh my goodness, pay the man. Kirk Cousins, number 8. And you want to know the names ahead of him? Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Tony Romo, Steve Young, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Russell Wilson. That's the company that Kirk Cousins keeps, okay? Surround him with better players. Surround him with an offensive line that doesn't need 22, 23 different combinations to stay healthy. Get a trainer and a strength and conditioning coach in there that can keep guys healthy. And get the man his money, because Kirk Cousins has the tools and the skill set to be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. I think he just needs a little bit stronger position players around him, and I think he needs better coaching. Again, 8th all time. Another one that he scored well in, if I can find it, was completion percentage. Again, I'm driving, so this is all from memory. I hope you're impressed. Completion percentage, all time, Kirk Cousins, number 2 in the history of the NFL. It is Drew Brees and it is Kirk Cousins. Those are the top 2 in the history of the league. Ahead of Kurt Warner, ahead of Peyton Manning, ahead of Tony Romo, ahead of Aaron Rodgers, ahead of Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, Tom Brady, Big Ben, Steve Young. Those are the names beneath Kirk Cousins. The only one ahead of him is Drew Brees. Washington, pay the man. Pay the man, Washington. So I really hope Kirk will stay. I hope he'll get paid. At this point, we are not making the playoffs. I wouldn't mind watching us lose several more games. Get a new coaching regime in there. Get a good draft pick and try and just regroup for next year. Again, does Eli Manning belong in the Hall of Fame? I think he does. Does Kirk Cousins belong in Washington? Does Kirk Cousins deserve a big paycheck? Yes, he absolutely does. I hope it comes from the Washington Redskins. I just pulled up to work. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out stbsportstake.com. Simply the best in sports.